Good afternoon, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Disidore. I'm here to read our historical fiction novel, Once. Okay, this is chapter 15, and today is Friday, May 29th. Yes, May 29th. Wow, crazy. Almost into the month of June. So we left off with the kids in the basement, okay, and they all started to just tell their sad stories, and they were all very emotional, and because all of the kids have lost their parents have died, and Zelda just learned that her parents died. She didn't know that they were dead, so it's really sad. Felix, our main character, still thinks his parents are alive. I don't know if they are or they are not. We don't know. So, but Felix does think they are still alive. He doesn't know if they're alive or dead. So, okay, let's see how long chapter 15 is. I think I might have to do half of it. Actually, we'll see. We'll see how far we get. Okay? All right. Once I told Zelda a story that made her cry, so I lay on her sack with her for hours and hours until she fell asleep. Then I started writing down the African story for the Nazi officers until I fell asleep too. Now Barney is shaking me. "Felix," he whispers, "we've run out of water. I need you to help me find some." I sit up and put my notebook inside my shirt. I reach for my shoes and the rags to pack around my feet. "Try these," says Barney. He hands me a pair of boots. I stare at them in the candlelight. They're almost new. I've never had an almost new pair of boots before. When I was little, Mom and Dad used to get my shoes from other families with bigger kids who liked reading. I put the boots on. They fit. "Thanks," I say. "Where did you get them?" I can see Barney doesn't want to tell me. I remember something he once said. "You don't have to make anything up," I add. Barney smiles. "I bought them," he says. 3 turnips. I stare at him horrified. 3 turnips is a fortune. We could have made soup for all of us with 3 turnips. "Water hunters need good shoes for running," says Barney, "in case the water tries to get away." I look down at Barney's shoes. They're both split open and wound round with soap. Barney sees me looking. "All right," he says quietly. "I'll tell you the truth. I got you the boots because everybody deserves to have something good in their life, at least once." I don't know what to say. This is one of the kindest things I've ever heard, including in stories. "Thanks," I whisper. But I'm confused. Surely Barney knows I've got lots of other good things in my life, more than anyone else in this cellar probably. So again, I think Barney thinks his parents are dead, but Felix doesn't think so. Barney locks the trap door and I follow him through the dark printing factory, an empty bucket in each hand, my feet snug and grateful in my new boots. As we get close to the big rusty door, Barney suddenly blows out the candle and puts his fingers on my lips. I can hear it too, voices and footsteps out in the street. It's after curfew time. Everybody's meant to be indoors. We creep over to a window. Barney rubs a small patch on the dusty glass and we peek out. The street is crowded with people, all trudging in the moonlight, all in the same direction. Jewish people. I can tell by the armbands on their coats. Some are carrying bags and bundles. They're so close I can hear their voices, even through the glass. "Yes, but where?" says a woman wearing a scarf. A man with his arm round her rolls his eyes. He looks like he's done it before, so he's probably her husband. "I don't know exactly," he says. "The countryside. Does it matter? Where? For each day's work we get a loaf of bread and a sausage and marmalade. That's all that matters." The husband and wife are too far away now, and I can't hear them anymore because their voices are mixed up with all the others. A man with a loud voice is passing the window. "Please," he's saying. "Which is it? Russia? Romania? Hungary? You must know where we're going." I shrink back. The person he's talking to is a Nazi soldier. "Countryside," says the soldier. "Beautiful, much food, easy work." I look at Barney to see if he's thinking what I'm thinking. The Nazis are taking the Jewish people to the countryside to work, farming perhaps, or looking after sheep. Anything to get their minds off books, probably. That means Mom and Dad will be going there. Barney, I whisper, can we go too? Zelda and Henrik and all of us? Barney looks as though this is the worst idea anybody has ever had in the history of the world. No, he says. But it could be great, I say. A farmer could let us live in his barn, and we could make cheese and sell it. Barney isn't even listening, just peering out of the window. The street outside is empty now. I can hear the last of the Jewish people and the Nazi soldiers fading into the distance. Come on, says Barney, unchaining the big door. We've got water to find. Let's go. In the cool night air, my thoughts are clear. I don't say anything more about the countryside. I know what I'm going to do. Once me and Barney have found some water and got it back to the cellar, I'm going to finish writing my African story and give it to the Nazi officer and ask him which bit of the countryside Mom and Dad have been taken to. Then I'm going to wake Zelda up and we'll go there on our own. All right, so Felix is still thinking that the Nazis are taking the Jewish people to the countryside to work. Are you thinking something different? Because I am. I'm thinking they're either going to kill them or they're putting them into concentration camps. I think the Nazis are lying to the Jewish people. And as we know, Felix doesn't know really what's going on. Okay, let me continue. I don't believe it. Barney just walked into an apartment without knocking. He just looked around the stairwell to make sure nobody was watching, pushed the door open and barged in. Luckily, the stairwell was deserted. Is this your apartment? I ask him. No, he says. He's saying that a lot tonight. He stops in the hallway, his shoulders slump. I see what's caught his eye. On the floor is a Jewish candlestick, the type that holds a row of candles. It's completely squashed, as if somebody stepped on it. This place belongs to friends of mine, says Barney quietly. I understand. They must have gone to work in the countryside and forgotten to lock up. I follow Barney into a room. It's an unusual sort of room. I need a moment to take it all in. The big leather chair, the 2 sinks, the robot arm drill. Now I understand. It's a dentist's surgery. See if the water's on, says Barney. I don't waste time. I take my buckets over to one of the sinks and turn the tap. Nothing. It's off, I say. Barney is rummaging in cupboards and stuffing things into his pockets. Metal syringes, packets of needles, small bottles filled with liquid. That's not water, is it? I say, puzzled. Barney looks at me and I get the feeling he wishes I hadn't seen what he's doing. It's a drug, he says. Dentists use it to stop their patients feeling pain. I know, I said. My mom had it once. Barney comes over and crouches down so his face is level with mine. I don't want you or any of the others to touch this, he says, holding up one of the little bottles. It's very dangerous. Only dentists should touch it. Why is it dangerous, I ask. If a person takes too much, says Barney, they go into a very deep sleep and never wake up. Something about the way he says it makes me shiver, but at least his patients will have something else to dull their pain when I'm in the countryside with Mom and Dad and Zelda and can't tell them stories. I remember why we're here. I'll look in the other rooms for water, I say. There's a bathroom down the hall, says Barney. We go into the bathroom and straight away I can see we're in luck. The bath is full of water. I scoop some out with one of my buckets. Hang on, says Barney, taking the bucket from me and tipping the water back. Somebody's had a bath in that. It's dirty. Better not risk it. I stare at the water, confused. That's not dirty. It's just a bit soapy, with a few hairs in it. One person's been in that. 2 tops. If Barney wants to see dirty water, he should go to an orphanage on bath night. That's not even any grit. There's not even any grit in this as far as I can see. So see if there's any food in the kitchen, says Barney. I'll fill the buckets from this. He's lifting the lid off the toilet tank, which I have to admit is a good idea. 2 buckets of clean water at least. I go down the hall to the kitchen, wondering why there are cooking utensils on the hall floor. In the kitchen, things are even worse. The floor is covered with broken plates and bits of cooked food. I crouch down, wondering if Barney is going to be fussy about food that's been on the floor. Then I realize there's someone else in the room. Oh, it's a little kid, about 2, in a high chair. I can't tell if it's a girl or a boy because there's too much blood on the little body. Oh, I scream for Barney. He's coming running in and almost falls over himself when he sees the poor, horrible sight. But then he grabs me and drags me out into the hall. It's a little kid, I sob. They shouldn't shoot little kids. Shh, says Barney. He sounds like he's sobbing too. He pushes my fate into his coat. Why didn't the parents do something, I sob? Why didn't they take their kid to the countryside? Barney is shaking. He hugs me very hard. Sometimes, he says, his voice shaking as well, parents can't protect their kids, even though they love them more than anything in the world. Sometimes, even when they try their very hardest, they can't save them. I can feel Barney's tears falling onto me. For a while he doesn't say anything, just pats my head. I pat his hand. Something tells me he needs it too. Your mom and dad loved you, Felix, says Barney. They did everything they could to protect you. Loved? Why is he saying that, as if it's in the past? I'm going to find them, I say. I'm going to live in the countryside with them. I feel Barney give a painful sigh. There's no countryside, he says quietly. The Nazis aren't taking anyone to the countryside. They're taking Jews away to kill them. I stare up at him. What? That's the stupidest story I've ever heard. Didn't he hear what the Nazi soldiers said to the Jewish people outside the window? I kick and struggle to get myself out of his grip so I can go and find Mom and Dad before the Nazis take them to the countryside. But Barney is holding me too tight. His arms are too strong. I can't get away. It's true, Felix, he says. His voice sounds like he's at a funeral. How do you know? I yell at him. Somebody escaped from one of the death camps, he says. This man came to the ghetto to try and warn the rest of us. My head is hurting. Death camps? You're making this up, I yell at Barney. If it was true, you would have warned the people leaving tonight. I felt his chest heaving for a long time before he answers. They wouldn't have believed me, he says. They didn't believe the man from the death camp, not even after the Nazis killed him. And I need to be alive so I can take care of you and the others. It's on Barney's face. I can see it. He's telling the truth. Oh, Mom. Oh, Dad. My imagination goes into a frenzy, trying to think of ways for them to escape, places for them to hide, reasons why none of this has happened to them. Every time I start to think of something, I remember the poor little kid in the kitchen. Barney is still holding me tight, and I can feel the metal syringes in his coat pocket pressing against my cheek. Suddenly, I want to stick one of the syringes into me so I can go into a deep sleep and never wake up and never feel this bad ever again. All right. So in chapter 15, Felix is finally understanding what exactly is going on. The Nazis aren't taking people, Jewish people, to the countryside. It has nothing to do with people who like books. It's just all people that are Jewish. The Nazis are taking to these death camps where they will be killed. And he now understands that his parents are dead. They're not alive. And he also sees how awful the Nazis are. When they went into that apartment, Barney went to get some supplies for the kids in the basement. And he saw a 2-year-old that had been killed. So really we see how brutal and awful. Now remember, this is a historical fiction. The history part is true, but the story about Felix is not true. Did the Nazis really do these things? Yes, they did. So, all right. So boys and girls, We will see. We're getting towards the end. We only have a few more chapters. I don't know how this is going to end, but we will continue it next week. And I hope you all have a very nice weekend. Take care.